Sport Superbike is a budget entry racing title that was released for the PlayStation by Midas Interactive in the year 2000 that primarily focuses on the Superbike World Championship or International Championship Series that allows you to race across different continents within the world, anything from the United Kingdom, United States, Japan and Canada, that features 3 different game modes from training to practice, single player, where you can compete in a championship format. The game is limited however in terms of the track availability, as there is only 4 unique tracks or circuits available in the game: Indonesia, Japan, Europe and South Africa, but they all have their own variety of turns, twists and unique hurdles to overcome. And for a budget game, graphically it is very decent in what it tries to portray, as this game also uses the same engine that was seen in earlier motorbike racing games with the Castrol Honda Superbike series. So virtually they're identical in all respects to it. The only main differences with these games is that they remove the licensed brands with Castrol and Honda and just replaces with their own in-house or made up brands, but technically it's the same game. In many cases, if you've played any of those previous games, you can almost bet that the majority of the tracks in this game will also be in the previous titles that I mentioned. So there was both Castrol Honda Superbike Championship, and then later in 2001 there was also Castrol Honda VTR, and essentially they're all the same, as they all have the same graphics, same visual style, same gameplay aesthetics and control systems. They also do use and allow for support with the analog controls as well, so at least that adds a different diversity to the gameplay. Now it's not to say that they're bad games. Like, for budget titles they are very good. If anything, they're way better than what you could ever deem or expect on the console, as they are very well thought out, they're very well balanced. They can be a little bit on the sluggish side at times with regards to the controls, but in all honesty, when we look at the amount of racing games on the PlayStation, there is really only a handful of motorbike racing games, and these series of games, either with the Castrol Honda series or Sport Superbike, or even later with the XS Moto game that was also released on the system, as they're all technically the same, but these are quite simply the best simulation focused motorbike games on the system. You won't really find any other simulation bike racers on the PlayStation at all. Everything else really apart from that are all arcade games as such. So this, while it did get mixed reviews in the magazines, it is a lot better than what most people would expect. And if you are looking for a simulation focused racer, this is as good as you will get on the PlayStation, in fairness to it, but it is a lot better than you may think. The only downside with it is that I found with a lot of these type of racers is that because this game uses the same engine and virtually all of the same assets and tracks as previous games, or even with later games, they all use the same features. They're technically all the same, so if you've played one, you really have played them all in all respects to it. But at the time when this was released, as this was a budget title, this would have appealed to more of the masses, as it would have been more affordable to people to play this type of racer, as people would not have been out of pocket spending ridiculous amount of money on more mainstream games just to get access to something that you can play on this for only half or not even a third of the price at the time. And it would have been a lot better compared to a lot of other budget entry titles seen on the PlayStation during that period. The one thing that I will say I find as well with these type of racing games, with more simulation games, and I even found with other types of motorbike racing games that were similar to this, if we look at the likes of Ducati World and even Superbike 2000 that was released by EA, the one thing that I find that a lot of these games usually have in common is, yes, graphically they're very impressive for what they do represent, but I always found that the graphics in terms of their visual quality always seemed a bit flat or lackluster. They weren't as colourful or as vibrant, but then I suppose that wasn't the look they were really going for, because they were going for more realism, so something had to give in that respect. So you can see it for what it is, and it is a decent title. They are a decent selection of games, but like I said, if you have played one, you really have played them all. Like, for the amount of bike games that are on the PlayStation that I've been able to find, so there's about 20 of them in total, a couple of them are actually all part of a package of other games, like with All-Star Action and even like All-Star Racing, so they're not essentially mainstream releases on their own right. But out of those 20 games that I can find, there really is only about 8 to 10 games that are completely original. All the rest of them, like this here, are all rehashes of other games that came before it or even after it. But it is what it is. That's just just the reality of the many of the games that you would see on the PlayStation, especially towards the end of its lifespan. You would see a lot of these games being pumped out to the masses. But in fairness, these here are a lot better than what most would deem necessary. But I'd let you decide that for yourself. But if you have played these games at all, I would love to know your thoughts on them and what did you think of them back in the day. Are you more into these more simulation focused racers, or do you prefer the more arcade entries that were seen on the system back in the day? So be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. And if you would like to see more content around other types of racing games, as I have mentioned, featuring motorbikes that I've covered on the channel already, I'll make sure to drop a link to a playlist down in the description so that you can go and check those games out and see what you think for yourself. And as always, keep those gaming memories alive.